Arpeggios. They're one of the best tools you have for building great guitar solos. But here's the thing, they're just a tool. They shouldn't be the solo. And just like I see players mechanically run a scale and call it a day, I'm seeing the same thing with arpeggios. Somebody learns a shape, they play it generically in the middle of the solo, no phrasing, no note additions, and they think their job is done. Well, it's not. If your arpeggio playing sounds like you're just running a pattern up and down the neck, well, this video is going to change the way you think about soloing. I'm going to show you one concept that instantly makes arpeggios sound like actual music. It's not complicated, but I don't see anybody else teaching it this way. So grab your guitar, let's get into it. We're going to get right into playing, and I'll work in a little theory as we go. Frankly, I think the reason so many players play generic arpeggios comes down to two factors. The first one, it's a lack of imagination. The second, it's a lack of knowledge. It's a lot easier to be creative when you understand how the fretboard works. We're going to be working with 7th arpeggios today, and we're starting with these 4-note shapes on the E and B strings, and we're going to be playing C major 7 arpeggios. C major 7 has the notes C, E, G, and B. C is the root, E is the major 3rd, G is the 5th, and B is the major 7th. Now, right away, there's a shape you may have never played, because so often when arpeggios get taught, we're given shapes that move across 4, 5, or 6 strings. And I think that leads players to focus on memorizing patterns rather than being creative. What we just played, we called the root position of C major 7. Starting on the root and playing the root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th. We can move up to the 17th position, start on E or the major 3rd, and we can play the 3rd, 5th, the 7th, and the root. We call that the first inversion. We can drop down to the 8th position, start on G, which is the 5th, and play the 5th, the 7th, the root, and the 3rd. That's the second inversion. And finally, at the 12th position here, if we start on the B, which is the major 7th, we play the 7th, the root, the 3rd, and the 5th. That's the third inversion. They're all C major 7. We're just changing the order of the notes each time. Check out how much of the fretboard we're covering here. And because each time we start and finish on a different note, each of the inversions, they kind of have their own sound and feel. Just playing these 4 little shapes already gets me hearing lots of melodic possibilities. And now here's where what I really want you to learn today comes in. These shapes, they sound nice, but remember, they're just a tool. Don't see them as a finished lick. Think of it this way. If I give you some butter, some flour, some sugar, and eggs, you've got ingredients, but you don't have a cake. If I give you a big stack of wood and a big box of nails, you've got materials, but you don't have a piece of furniture. The arpeggio shapes, they're your ingredients. What comes next is where you start building and cooking. Here's the concept that turns arpeggios into the finished product. I call it the 4 E's. By adding another note here and there and playing with the phrasing and rhythms, we're going to embellish, enhance, extend, and evolve the arpeggios. Here's how. Let's go to the 8th position, the second inversion shape with the notes G, B, C, and E. Playing it straight like that sounds fine, but generic. What if we ascend through the arpeggio and add the F note at the 13th fret and then play back down to the G? One key thing here, I slid into that F and back to the E. So often we hear arpeggios sweep-picked, but when you hear them using legato, they start to take on this really fluid, liquid sound. And that's exactly what we're going for. Now, let's take this one step further and make a little sequence. After we play the idea we just went through, we're going to go back to C on the E string and then play B and G again on the B string. Nice. Now, let's finish the lick by sliding down to the E at the 5th fret, which is the major third and a great note to land on. And we can extend this even further by hammering onto the F and G at frets 6 and 8, sliding into the G, adding a little vibrato, sliding back to F and pulling off to E. Now that's a lick, but let's keep going. We can add even more fluidity by sneaking in another scale note, A, which is the 6th at the beginning of the lick, and then doing some more sequencing. We're going to play G, A, B, C, B, A, and then G, A, B, C, E, F, E, C, B, and G. Now we're going to play A, B, C, B, A, G again, and then slide down to the 5th position and add in our slidey, soulful ending. Listen to this evolution. We started with a basic 7th arpeggio. We added F, the 4th. We changed the sequencing. Then we added a slide down to another chord tone. We layered in more notes and some soulful phrasing. Then we added A, the 6th, and we reworked the sequencing again. That took us from a generic arpeggio to a fully formed musical statement. A lick that sounds fluid, flowing, and beautiful. All by adding 2 notes that aren't in the original arpeggio, a position shift, and playing around with the sequencing. I'm going to play the lick now over a backing track, and the backing track is going to give us some harmonic context. It'll also give you a good idea how to work with the rhythm of the lick to make it fit into a groove. Here we go. It's so easy to get stuck in the habit of memorizing a pattern and then moving on to something else. Stop doing that. This is how you can squeeze more out of the concepts that you're learning and start developing original licks that really show off your creativity and musicality. And the more you do it, the better you get, so let's keep going. Oh, if you're enjoying this video and you're learning a little something, do me a favor. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. I make a video like this every week, and I don't want you to miss anything. Thanks. Let's go to the 3rd inversion shape at the 12th position, and we've got the notes B, C, E, and G, which are the intervals, the major 7th, root, major 3rd, and the 5th. It's a nice sound, and when I start thinking about extending this arpeggio, I know there's a G, B, and C at frets 15, 19, and 20 on the E string. We just have to figure out a way to kind of connect these 2 shapes. So let's use a couple of 6-note patterns from the C major scale to climb up the fretboard. After playing the arpeggio with B, C, E, and G, we're going to make a 2-fret shift up, and we're going to play A, G, F, E, D, C, at frets 17, 15, 13 of the E and B strings. Then we're going to shift up again to the 15th position, and we're going to play D, E, F, G, A, B at frets 15, 17, 18 of the B string, 15, 17, and 19 of the E string. And once again, I want you to be playing most of these notes legato, or with hammer-ons and pull-offs. So far, I'd only pick 4 notes when I'm actually playing this passage. The first on each string of the starting arpeggio, and then the first note each time we switch strings after that. Remember, we're going for that liquid sound. After we play that B note, we're in position to slide into C, back to B and pull off to G. Then we're going to play the E and C notes at the 17th fret of the B and G strings with a little mini sweep upstroke, and then pull off to B at the 16th fret. Now we're going to jump over to the A at fret 17 of the high E, slide down to G, and now we can outline this C major 7th shape with, we started on that G note, E, C, and B on the B string, G at fret 12 of the G string, and finally the E at fret 14 of the D string. That ending arpeggio is played with a combination of picking and pull-offs. I pick the A note, slide to G and pull off to E, pick the C note, pull off to B, and then just keep the pick moving upward and play the G and E. Here's the entire lick played slowly. One of the really cool aspects of this lick is after that first arpeggio, we get into this rolling 16th note triplet thing. That's another area you got to be mindful of when you're writing licks, the rhythmic content of the lick. It can sound really stunning when you change the subdivisions you're playing and you keep it going inside the lick like we just did. So let's hear this lick over the backing track. Okay, what do you say we do one more? Let's jump up to the first inversion shape at the 17th fret. We've got the notes E, G, B, and C in this position. And right away, my mind starts thinking of the other inversions right below it on the fretboard, the root form and the third inversion. So let's find a way to connect them all. So let's embellish this first inversion by playing E and G, and then we're going to start a string of triplets again by playing B, C, B, A, or the 6th before playing G and E again. Next we're going to play C and slide into B before pulling off to G. Play E at the 17th fret of the B string, and then C and B at fret 17 and 16 of the G string. From here, I've got two objectives: getting down to the third inversion at the 12th position and carrying on that triplet rhythm. We can easily accomplish the first objective by playing A at the 17th fret of the E string and sliding into G. And from here, we're going to do something really slick and create a hybrid scale by descending C major pentatonic, but adding in the B note or the major 7th to keep the sound of the major 7th arpeggio. C major pentatonic has the notes G, E, D, C, A, G, E, D, and C. But we're going to play A, G, E, D, C, B, A, G, E, D, C, and B again. Because we started with that A on the high E, it gave us the right amount of notes to keep the triplets going. And we're going to end the lick by playing the A at the 12th fret of the A string, and then sliding back up into B and maybe noodling around a bit to make it fit the backing track. So here's the entire passage played slowly. And now let me play it over the backing track so you hear it with harmonic context and rhythm. Here we go. So there you have it. In a very short amount of time, we were able to take some generic 4-note arpeggio shapes, and we used them as a starting point for what became fluing arpeggio licks. This is opposed to just ascending or descending through an arpeggio shape, which can sound fine, of course. But to me, that kind of playing, it's just sort of lazy. Anybody can do that. Why not spend a little time adding a few notes and some phrasing to enhance and embellish those shapes and to come up with something unique and all your own? I mentioned earlier, the more you practice this, the easier it gets. Work with it a little bit and don't be surprised if you start developing the ability to improvise these kind of licks. One more thing, we just worked with major 7th arpeggios today, but of course these concepts work with minor 7th arpeggios too. So get in there and start creating your own awesome arpeggio phrases. As always, I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next week. Until then, work hard, but always have fun playing that guitar. Bye.